Hey everybody, Mary Beth Tice here with Team Gale, and this is the second video in our vlog series on gardening and what you can do in prepping your house for springtime, well, your yard really, to bring out some curb appeal and maybe get yourself a nice little garden growing, whether it's in a container or in the yard. So I actually wanted to focus on that actual aspect. Right now it's February, and it is the perfect time if you are going to grow your plants from seeds versus seedlings that you would buy in the store, to get them going, so that way come springtime you're ready to actually put them in the ground or into a larger container. We in Wilmington and Leland live in what we call Zone 8. If you're unfamiliar with zones, the world is broken up into different zones based off of your climate, your growing season, and like how cold your winters get and how hot your summers get. And here in Wilmington, we are actually Zone 8. Some areas they might be considered Zone 7B. And while we're fairly close in between the two, there are some subtle differences. I'm not going to go over those right now, but a really great place to find out about this is actually through North Carolina State University, or NC State. They have a wonderful agricultural department, and they have a whole section on their website devoted for people who are local gardeners and want to learn more about the different zonings. So that is a great place for you to go and learn more. There's several local websites and TV shows that discuss growing, and I'm not gonna name drop too much around here, but if you just Google them, you will find them. They're amazing, and you'll learn a lot of valuable information. And also, if you really want to heavily get into gardening, just check out your local bookstore. I myself have probably 10 different books on gardening, either in the ground or raised beds or container gardens. So I love doing all three and avidly partake in them, because in my personal opinion, there's nothing better than having fresh basil in the middle of December that you have grown on your own. So to get back to the no pun intended, but root of today's vlog, we are going to talk about actually growing your seeds from, or your plants from seeds, and how to start that right now with it still being kind of chilly outside. Things you're going to need, either a small carton of milk that you've emptied out and kind of cut off, rinsed out and everything. The little paper ones work great for this. Egg cartons, not the styrofoam ones, but the biodegradable ones. These work perfectly. The styrofoam ones hold in too much moisture, can't really escape, and that can cause root rot or even seed rot, which is really not good. You're going to want to start off with taking either one of these, like I said, cleaning them out really well. You can even actually use eggshells if you want to, but I just recommend using the carton. But clean them out, make sure they're nice and dry. Take a little bit of potting soil. Now you're going to want to actually make sure you get the right soil for your seeds. If you're going to be keeping these in pots, you're going to want to use potting soil throughout. And if you're going to be doing vegetables, fruits, or flowers, make sure you get the potting soil that goes along with that. If you're going to be growing things in the ground, you're going to start off with potting soil, but when you move them to the ground, you're going to want a topsoil or a garden soil that is either for your trees and your shrubs, your flower gardens, your fruits, or your vegetables. These are all different types, and they have different acidic levels, and if there's fertilizer in there, the wrong fertilizer will kill your plants. Not to mention, if you are growing a vegetable garden and you use a garden soil for trees, you're going to find like more twigs and small rocks in there that you're not going to want in your gardening soil, but it's okay if you have a tree. So make sure you get the right type of soil. You want to start off putting a little bit of soil in your little egg cups or your milk carton. Put your seeds in there. water them lightly. You want to keep them moist, but you don't want them to become too wet because it will rot them and you don't want root rot to start. You're going to want to keep them in a warm, sunny place. A great place to keep them is in a nice sunny window. But if it's cold at night, you're going to want to make sure you remove them and put them someplace that's warm away from the window because it'll chill them and that's not good. You can kill them off. If you have a garage, this is a great place to keep your little seedlings. You're going to want to make sure you have a growing light. The problem with your overhead lights that you might have in your house, while they will promote growth, they're not going to be the same type of growth. It's like, you know, going outside and getting sunshine versus sitting inside all day underneath a regular light is completely different. And this is the same for plants as it is for humans, so you're just going to want to remember you're going to want a growing light. If you want an indoor greenhouse or a removable greenhouse, the best places to go for these are your home improvement stores. I have seen them at discount stores. I don't know how good they are. And you can buy one, a very large one that is portable. You can take down and put back up each season for, I want to say last time I saw it was about $150. It's kind of pricey, but for the size of it, it was a really good size. I think it was 6x8. That is an amazing price for that kind of greenhouse that you don't have to keep actually up year round. If you want to make a greenhouse, it's fairly simple to do. I'm not going to go into details over that because it can get kind of technical with just the nuts and bolts of it, again, no pun intended, on how to do that, but it's something you can look into if you're planning on staying on your property for a while. When your seeds start to germinate and they start to get too big for the small temporary containers you put them in, you're going to want to put them in a slightly larger container. One of the things that's really good, especially if you're doing something like vegetables, put them all in the container together, and then as you start to get more of them and you can see which ones are doing well, you will want to pinch off the ones that are not. And so you can do all this in one big container. If you have multiple types of plants, whether they are fruits and vegetables, flowers, trees and shrubs, each type you're going to want to put in a separate larger container just so you can keep track as to what exactly it is, and because it might need a different type of sunlight compared to the other things you are growing. Once they get bigger, then you can transfer them into their permanent pot if you're going to have a container garden, or if you're going to plant them in your yard, you're going to want to make sure the final frost has passed for the year. This is usually towards the mid to the end of March, beginning part of April. You're going to want to make sure that has completely passed, because otherwise these are still young plants. The frost will kill them if they are in the ground. If they are in containers, if you have a frost, make sure you move them indoors so that way you don't kill them. Alright, and then before you actually plant them in the ground, I heavily suggest going through planning out where you're going to put your items or your plants once they reach their maturity level. You can simply sketch this out. You can get software that will allow you to plan your landscape. You can also talk to a landscaper. But you're going to want to make sure that when you finally put these in the ground that they are going to be there permanently and you don't move them around too much. So, like I said, I would sketch this out probably around the time that you start noticing how many plants you're going to have. That way you know exactly how much you have to work with. Sketch it out, put your things in the ground once the final frost has passed, and now you have a beautiful garden. You know, maybe put a bird feeder out there. Make sure you keep it filled with bird seed year round, because your little flying friends will come to expect that seed there. And if you take it away, especially in the colder months, then they will have a harder time finding a food source because they won't have what they're used to having around. But you can put out a bird feeder, bird bath, maybe a bench, and have yourself a nice little garden that everybody, including yourself, will enjoy. Alright, if you have any questions, comments or would like to add anything to this, please feel free to email me at marybeth@teamgale.net. Have a great day. Bye-bye.